Everyone talks about the AI agent future like it's some, distant sci-fi thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just look at the logs from this past week, specifically January 18th to the 25th, do you realize the shift it's already happened.
It really has.
We aren't just chatting with bots anymore. As of this week, Google basically handed its AI a set of keys. Keys to the server room, keys to the classroom, and maybe most controversially, the keys to your personal digital exhaust.
It is a massive pivot point. If the last couple of years were all about, look at how smart this model is, this week in 2026 is about, look at what this model is allowed to touch.
Right.
We're seeing a move from pure capability to integration. Deep, messy, high-stakes integration.
And that's the mission for this deep dive. We're going to strip away the marketing fluff and look at a very specific stack of updates. We've got a breakthrough in 4D vision called D4RT.
Yep.
A huge education overhaul at the BETT conference involving Oxford and Khan Academy, and a rare look at how Google's own engineers are using AI to, keep the internet from crashing.
Plus, a really fascinating strategic standoff happening on advertising. But you're right, the theme is permission.
Let's start with the eyes. Because before an agent can do anything useful in the real world, it needs to see. And on January 22nd, DeepMind dropped a paper on D4RT.
Dynamic 4D reconstruction and tracking.
And the numbers here are they're startling.
They really are. For context, getting a machine to understand a video in 3D, identifying objects, their depth, how they move over time, that is notoriously computationally heavy.
Super slow.
Yeah, you're usually stitching together a depth model, a motion model, an object tracker. It's clunky.
And by slow, we mean it's not real time, not even close.
Correct. You're talking minutes to process just seconds of footage. D4RT, it unifies all of this into a single model. The benchmark they released claims it's up to 300 times faster.
300 times. So we're not talking about like a 20% efficiency.
No. This is orders of magnitude. It can process a 1-minute video in about 5 seconds. And that crosses the threshold from a post-processing tool to real-time perception.
Which is the holy grail for robotics, right?
Yeah.
If I have a robot in a warehouse, it can't wait 10 minutes to realize a forklift just cut it off.
It needs to know now. And it solves the occlusion problem, too.
That's when something goes behind something else.
Exactly. An object moves behind another one. Humans, we get object permanence. We know the car is still there behind the truck. Machines really struggle with that. D4RT handles that, and camera movement at the same time.
So it's giving the machine this continuous 4D understanding of what's happening?
It's not just seeing pixels anymore. It's understanding space and time, which is the foundation for any functional augmented reality or robotics app.
Okay, but speed isn't just about the model. It's also how you train it. And that brings us to the second piece of research from Google on the 23rd. GIST.
Greedy, independent, set thresholding.
The acronyms are out in full force this week.
They are. But the concept here is vital, especially for anyone following the whole scaling laws debate. We are sort of hitting a wall where models are so big that training them on all the data is becoming just cost prohibitive.
Right. We're drowning in data, but we're starving for good data.
Precisely. GDASA2 is a smart data sampling algorithm. So instead of feeding the model the entire internet, or just a random bunch of pages, GSAID mathematically picks the subset of data that is the most informative.
It's like curation.
It's algorithmic curation with a provable 50% optimality guarantee.
Okay, that sounds really dry.
It does, but in computer science, a provable guarantee is gold. It means you can mathematically ensure that your smaller, cheaper data set is at least half as effective as the theoretically perfect data set. It's all about cutting compute costs without sacrificing the model's IQ.
It seems like efficiency is the theme here, a prerequisite for the next phase, which is actual deployment. So let's move from the lab to the real world.
To the classroom.
It's exactly. The BETT 2026 conference in London. The education sector got hit with this huge wave of updates on January 21st.
Yeah, and this wasn't just, Chromebooks get a little faster. This was a fundamental change in how AI is being positioned in schools.
The headline partnership seems to be Khan Academy.
It is.
And I've used Khan Academy. It's great for drilling concepts. But this new integration with Gemini seems to be tackling the biggest fear teachers have, which is cheating.
That is the friction point. Every educator is terrified of the essay generator. Yeah. So Google and Khan are countering this with a writing coach. And it's powered by a model called LearnLM.
LearnLM. That's the pedagogical fine-tune, right? The teaching model.
Yes. It's been instructed specifically not to give the answer. So if a student is stuck on a thesis statement, the model doesn't just write one. It asks, what's the primary evidence you're trying to highlight? It prompts the student to think.
It's Socratic. So it's the difference between a cheat sheet and having a tutor sitting right next to you.
It's guided learning. And it shifts the AI from being a content mill to being a cognitive scaffold. But they aren't just doing this for K-12. The partnership with Oxford University is, well, arguably even more interesting.
Deep research, that's what they're calling the tool.
It is. They ran a pilot where Oxford faculty and students use this to automate the grunt work of academic inquiry.
Like what? Browsing citations.
Browsing hundreds of citations, formatting references, synthesizing broad reports. The results were pretty clear. 85% of the participants said it boosted their productivity.
Wow. That feels like the Industrial Revolution for white-collar work. You're automating the drudgery of being smart, so you can focus on the actual smart part?
The hypothesis, the synthesis. And to make sure this isn't just for the Ivy League, they announced that Gemini 3 Pro and Flash are now free for Education Fundamentals users.
So they're commoditizing access to these top-tier models for schools. Okay, speaking of commoditizing reasoning, let's talk about the consumer side. On January 22nd, Google Search got an update called Personal Intelligence. And this is where we really need to talk about that permission slip.
This is the context mode.
The context mode.
It's an opt-in feature for AI Pro and Ultra subscribers, and it connects Google Search directly to your Gmail and your Google Photos.
So practically speaking, I search plan a trip to Tokyo, and instead of a Lonely Planet article, what happens?
You get an itinerary that's built on the flight confirmation sitting in your Gmail, and you'll get restaurant recommendations based on the photos of ramen you took on your last trip 3 years ago. It uses your specific history.
This is incredibly useful.
Yeah.
But it also feels like the moment Google finally plays its ace card against, OpenAI and Anthropic.
It is. I mean, think about it. ChatGPT might have better reasoning on some benchmarks. Maybe. But ChatGPT doesn't have 10 years of your emails. It doesn't know your family's faces from your photo library.
It's the cold start problem. For me to get that utility from ChatGPT, I have to upload my entire life to it. Google. Well, Google already has it.
Exactly. Google is betting that the friction of switching is just too high. They are leveraging that ecosystem lock-in to offer a utility that no standalone model can match.
But the privacy implications here are massive.
Right.
You are explicitly allowing the AI to read your mail to answer your queries.
Which is why they're emphasizing index in place. They claim the data isn't being sucked into the giant training run for the next public model. They say it's being reasoned over securely within your personal instance, but yes, it requires a very high degree of trust.
And trust is a good segue to reliability, because while we're debating travel plans, Google's own engineers are using these agents to keep the cloud from, melting down.
This was my favorite read of the week, hands down. The Google Cloud blog on January 22nd detailing how their site reliability engineers, their SREs, are using Gemini 3.
SREs are the special forces of the internet. When YouTube goes dark, they're the ones getting the page at 3 in the morning.
And now they're getting paged alongside a Gemini agent. But this isn't a chatbot. It's using the Gemini 3 CLI, the command line interface.
So it's living in the terminal with the engineers.
Right in the terminal. It uses something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. This allows the AI to pull logs, run time series correlations to actually diagnose the system's state.
They introduced a metric that I hadn't seen before, bad customer minutes, BCM.
It's a brutal honesty metric, isn't it? It's not just, is the server up, but how many users are having a terrible time right now?
The goal of the AI agent is to reduce BCM by speeding up that triage phase.
So instead of a human spending 20 minutes hunting for a database lock, the AI spots the correlation in seconds.
Yeah, that's the idea.
But here's the critical question. Does the AI have the button? Can it actually execute the fix?
That is the line they will not cross. Not yet. They call this agentic DevOps, but with a human in the loop. The blog was very specific. For any state mutating action, restarting a server, rolling back code, a human has to physically press enter. Because if the AI hallucinates a command, you don't want it wiping a production cluster.
Oops, I deleted the master database. Is not something you can easily undo. Safety is paramount here, which, aligns with the infrastructure news. They just dropped $1 billion on a new cloud region in Thailand on the 21st. You need massive, reliable physical infrastructure to run these agents reliably.
Let's stay on safety for a second, because as these tools get deeper into our systems, the surface area for attacks gets bigger. On the 21st, alongside the education news, they rolled out some pretty heavy security updates.
Ransomware detection. This is huge for schools, for businesses, really for anyone. Google Drive for desktop now uses machine learning to detect the specific patterns of ransomware.
So it sees files getting encrypted at, like, superhuman speed.
Exactly. And if it catches it, it pauses the sync and alerts the user. But the killer feature is the one-click restore. Since it knows when the attack started, it can roll back all your file versions to the state they were in right before the infection.
That turns a potential catastrophe into just a minor annoyance.
It's a huge deal. And they also rolled out Synthety for education. This is that invisible watermarking for AI-generated images.
Digital Literacy 101. Is this photo real, or did Gemini make it?
Exactly. So now teachers and students can verify the source of an image directly in the app. It's essential hygiene for the AI age.
I want to close on a bit of strategy. You've talked about technical integration, but there's a business model fight happening here too.
Oh,
TechCrunch reported on some comments from Demis Hassabis at Davos this week, specifically about ads.
this was a clear shot across the bow. Hassabis said Google has no current plans to put ads in its AI chatbot. He even mentioned being surprised that competitors were rushing into it.
Which is, a little rich coming from Google, the company that basically invented the modern ad internet.
It is ironic, but it's smart. Look at the personal intelligence feature we just discussed. If you want an AI to read your emails and plan your life, you need to view it as a fiduciary, a trusted advisor.
Right. If a personal assistant recommends a hotel, I need to know it's because it's the best hotel for me, not because that hotel paid the assistant a kickback.
Exactly. The second the AI becomes a billboard, that trust evaporates. By avoiding ads now, Google is trying to position Gemini as a premium utility, not a marketing channel. They're letting OpenAI and others potentially muddy the waters with ads while they claim the high ground of the assistant.
It's the long game. Secure the workflow, secure the trust, and then figure out monetization later. Or just monetize through the subscription itself.
And through the cloud consumption, every single query burns compute.
So if we look at the whole stack from January 18th to the 25th, what's the synthesis here?
I think the theme is integration depth.
We saw D4RT giving machines the speed to physically navigate our world.
We saw Gemini entering the workflow of Oxford researchers and Khan Academy students.
We saw it sitting in the terminal with SREs, diagnosing the internet.
And we saw it asking for permission to index your life.
It really feels like we are done with the chatbot era. We're moving into the co-pilot era, but in the truest sense of the word. Not just a voice in your ear, but a hand on the wheel.
And that brings us right back to that permission slip. If Google's AI can read your mail to help you search, and it can access the terminal to fix the server, the question isn't how smart is the model anymore. The question is, how deep are you willing to let it go?
A question every CIO, every teacher, every user needs to answer for themselves. Keep your context window open and your permissions checked. We'll see you in the next deep dive.